here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, everybody. Marc Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Yesterday was the anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima. The Battle of Iwo Jima. 7,000 killed, slightly more, 20,000 casualties. The fight, often hand-to-hand combat, lasted over a month. Hand-to-hand combat. It was supposed to be relatively quick. It was absolutely brutal. The Marines really had nowhere to dig in because it was all ash. And the Japanese had taken the high ground and dug in. 19,000 Japanese killed. And a couple hundred were taken prisoner. Because the Japanese didn't want to be taken prisoner. My grandfather fought at Iwo Jima, my mother's father. And funny thing, he signed up for the Marines when he was 34 years old. 34 years old. His brother-in-law, my great-uncle, they called him Tug. He signed up for the Marines, too. Tug was known for having these really strong hands, and my grandfather was a very tough man. He was about 6'2", an amateur boxer. During the Depression, he would drive a small truck from Philadelphia, Germantown in particular, to western Pennsylvania, pick up the coal, drive it all the way back, and door to door they would sell coal, and Tug from time to time would go with them. So they grew up with nothing. They were the children of immigrants who came to this country legally through Ellis Island. But when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, that was enough. These were tough men, men of the street. Tug didn't wind up at Iwo Jima. He wound up at Guadalcanal. That's where he wound up. My grandfather, Guam and Iwo Jima. And World War II. Men on the ground. Men fighting the enemy. A vicious enemy. An enemy that tortured and killed its prisoners as well. Decapitated them as well. An enemy that blew themselves up rather than be taken prisoner. And this happened time and time again in places like Iwo Jima and so forth. They would hold grenades behind their backs. It seems to me we knew how to fight wars back then. Say what you will about FDR and Truman and so forth. Nothing like the modern Democrat Party. Nothing like Barack Obama and the Democrat leaders, as they call themselves, in Congress. The media were different, too. The media actually cheered for America, cheered for our military, and wanted victory. At no time during World War II did FDR give speeches about how imperfect America is, American colonialization, slavery, or anything of the sort. tried to rally the nation to defeat the Axis powers, the Nazis, fascist Italy, and fascist Japan. He would never have thought of critiquing America and American history and going through a list of America's imperfections while sending men off to fight this enemy. Quite the contrary. The goal was to rally Americans to the cause. And when he died, same with Harry Truman. Same with Harry Truman. Eisenhower would never have conducted himself like Barack Obama and never did. John Kennedy never would have conducted himself like Barack Obama and never did. Despite the outrage at the Bay of Pigs and so forth, he would not have given speeches about how terrible America was. Johnson didn't. Nixon didn't at the height of the Vietnam War. There's only one man who conducts himself this way. Barack Obama. And unfortunately, the Democrat Party embraces every bit of it. Every bit of it. Now, since the beginning, when Barack Obama announced that he would fundamentally transform America in October 2008, I said then, and I've said hundreds of times since, that if you want to fundamentally transform America, then you don't love America. Now, I've heard this repeated today on television, on radio, callers, hosts, and so forth, because I was on television, what was it, last night? Last night, on Hannity, on the Fox News channel, and said it again. And so it's repeated. And it should be repeated. Because now we have phonies on the western seaboard and the eastern seaboard acting as if they're outraged by Rudy Giuliani's comments, which are really reflective of comments I've been making for years. Obama has shown no indication of his love for this country. None. Got that, Geraldo? Got that, Scarborough? And all the rest of you? Mouthpieces? Knee-jerkers? And I can go through his speeches. I can go through comments he's made, his actions, that fully demonstrate this. Words coming out of his mouth. Arguments coming out of his mouth. Fundamentally transform America. The man is eviscerating our constitutional system. Isn't that evidence enough? Apparently not. Well, it is to me. And so we have this fake outrage, this groupthink, by those who really don't think for themselves. But the American people, they've had enough of this too. When you tear down America, you're tearing down the American people. That's what you're doing. And that's what Obama does. That's what he does when it comes to the military. That's what he does when it comes to our police forces. That's when he does when it comes to our economic system. He's even destroying our immigration system. And of course, his irresponsible fiscal policies are destroying the future of young people and future generations that don't even exist. Absolutely reckless and incomprehensible. We don't need lectures from people who barely get ratings on TV and radio telling us what to think and how to behave. It's times like this where we need to speak out. It's times like this where we need to use the First Amendment. It's times like this where we need to confront what's going on in this country. Not just go along. I don't socialize with the Manhattan crowd. I don't socialize with the inside the Beltway crowd. These other fools do. Oh, yes, they do. If Scott Walker wants to talk with me, and I understand he does, well, you won't find me in Manhattan. You have to come out at the Dulles Airport somewhere. I won't give you any more specifics than that, and that's where we can meet. Now, all this outrage about what Giuliani said, I defend Giuliani because I defend his statements. I don't defend Giuliani per se, but his statements are accurate. When Barack Obama was meeting with and working with and organizing with Rashid Khalidi, a mouthpiece for Yasser Arafat and the PLO, Barack Obama was a full-grown adult. When Barack Obama was palling around with, friends with, close friends with, socializing with Bill Ayers, responsible for horrific violence in this country, seeking to overthrow the government, and that wife of his, Bernadine Dorn, Barack Obama was a fully grown adult. He knew exactly who he was talking with and who he was with. When Barack Obama in the Oval Office meets with frequently Al Sharpton, he knows exactly what he's doing. When past and current members and affiliates and associates with the Muslim Brotherhood meet with open arms in this administration, in the White House, at the State Department, at the Justice Department, that tells us something. And you have to be a fool to ignore all this. A fool. And you're not a fool. These other people are the fools. I don't candy coat what I say, and Giuliani doesn't either, and we're not alone. Many of you understand exactly what's going on in this country. The same people who trashed Richard Nixon, the same people who trash, this one or that one, silent. Worse than silent when it comes to Obama. They defend him. I call the media in this country, this is caught on too, you'll hear others say it, the Praetorian Guard media. Because they surround this president and protect him. Now and then they take a shot at him. Big deal. Now and then, at a press conference they go after a spokesman. But you have a man in Obama who is eviscerating our constitutional system, checks and balances, separation of powers, and you won't hear these same mouthpieces talk about that at all. At all. Now, Barack Obama said some things that were intemperate when he was running for office. Al Gore said some things that were intemperate. John Kerry, Dick Durbin. I don't remember all the falderall, do you? I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
You love America, and you show our military some respect. You show our police officers some respect. You show the American people some respect. Successful people, you talk them up. You talk up our economic system. You talk up the greatness of the nation. See, those of us who are old enough know the difference between a Ronald Reagan, who was in love with his country, in love with his country, tears brought to his eyes when he spoke about his country, and Barack Obama, who goes overseas and trashes his country, and has been doing it time and again, and every time he speaks, the same thing. How the hell, when talking about the Islamo-Nazis overseas and their atrocities, do you wind up talking about Christians and Jews? Do you wind up talking about America and slavery and Jim Crow? How the hell do you expect to rally a nation to take on such an enemy? He loves America. Rudy shouldn't talk like that. Sounds like a talk show host in the evening. Gee, I wonder who that is. No, Rudy. No, Mark. No, everybody. We should talk like Barack Obama. You know, like when he was running for the for the presidency in July 2008. Cut 10, go.
The problem is that the way Bush has done it over the last 8 years is to take out a credit card from the Bank of China in the name of our children, driving up our national debt from $5 trillion for the first 42 presidents. Number 43 added $4 trillion by his lonesome.
A piker
so we now
compared
have
to you.
Over $9 trillion of debt that we are going to have to pay back. $30,000 for every man, woman, and child. That's irresponsible. It's unpatriotic.
Oh, it's unpatriotic. How about Al Gore, February 2004, attacking Bush? Cut 11, go.
Those are the feelings that were betrayed by this president. He betrayed this country. He played on our fears. He took America on an ill-conceived foreign adventure, dangerous to our troops, an adventure that was preordained and planned before 9/11.
Shut up, you slob. So Obama, Bush was unpatriotic for the debt. Obama's debt is going to more than double the Bush debt. I guess he's doubly unpatriotic. And then Al Gore, that Bush betrayed us. He betrayed the country. But even worse, the current Secretary of State, the Democrat nominee for president in 2004, John Kerry, another full-grown adult, April 22, 1972, not just to the nation, to the whole world, including the enemy. Cut 12, go.
They told the stories of times that they had personally raped, cut off ears, cut off heads, taped wires from portable telephones to human genitals and turned up the power, cut off limbs, blown up bodies, randomly shot at civilians, razed villages in fashion reminiscent of Genghis Khan, shot cattle and dogs for fun, poisoned food stocks, and generally ravaged the countryside of South Vietnam.
That's the current Secretary of State. Current Secretary of State talking about American troops in Vietnam. And they nominate him for president. I'm not done.
When Marc Levin was a kid, his teachers didn't like his snide sense of humor. Today, they still don't like it. Call Marc Levin now at 877-381-3811.
We don't need lectures from the Brian Williams wing of the media about how we're to behave and what we're to say. Screw them! They run in different circles. And they run in circles. They don't matter to us. They're irrelevant. They're yesterday's news. They have no audience. They have no viewers. They have no listeners. They're a joke. I'm told, I don't listen to it, some hosts today going on and on about their great ratings, 25 to 54. I will compare my ratings, 25 to 54, to that host on WABC right now. Furthermore, this show is growing. There's some guys in this business who are absolutely magnificent. They're mentors to me. Rush, Sean. I got buddies, too. Beck, Hewitt, and many, many more. I just can't name them all. But there's a few punks, one in particular. Keeps talking about how radio is dying. This show's not dying. We're not only on radio, AM and FM. We're on satellite radio. He's not. We have our own app, the Marc Levin app, with millions and millions of users every month. He doesn't. We have people downloading this show on their iPods 35 million times last year. Does that sound like a show that's shrinking? Talk radio, this is talk radio's heyday. This is where those who are good at this, who appreciate their audience, who prepare, who show up and are serious, not just lashing out against their fellow hosts of this industry, with their feet kicked up while they're shoving food up their nose. That separates the men from the boys. The men from the boys. Think about this briefly. This is just a footnote. I'm going to move on. What would we do if Rush wasn't on the radio? And this particular jealous host had his way, as he trashes him all the time. What would we do if Sean wasn't on the radio? What would we do if a lot of these great hosts weren't on the radio? And a lot of great local hosts, by the way. There are many. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, about 40 miles from Washington. I listen to WMAL. There are great local hosts on WMAL. A great morning show with Brian Wilson and Larry O'Connor. A great mid-morning show with my buddy Chris Plant. Yes. And this goes on all over the country. They're great hosts that many of you may not know because they're local hosts. So there are terrific national hosts, terrific local hosts. This is bread and butter. And to have an enemy within constantly trashing the format and trashing other hosts, tune that fool out. Tool out the Manchurian hosts. That's right. This show's growing. And that's thanks to you. Because at night you can be doing 100 other things. Listening to sports, watching sports, playing sports, going to the movies, having dinner, of course. May I have dinner with many of you? Watching primetime TV, whatever you do. And yet you come here. And I want to thank you. This industry is dying for those who can't cut it. But it is a magnificent industry for those who are vibrant, vigorous, and take this seriously, as I and so many others do. And I'll continue to defend conservative talk radio, while former leftists posing as conservatives keep trashing it and trashing it and trashing it. Little Dick Durbin, he's a senator from Illinois. And how Illinois has unraveled with a senator like this putz. Oh, Rudy Giuliani, you can't say those things, Rudy. You'll sound like that evening host. What's his name? And they won't even mention my name. This is how despised I am by the liberal pukes. Well, I despise them too. Little Dick Durbin, he's still a senator. He's still in the Democrat leadership. Oh, what a good guy. All over TV on Sundays all the time. June 2005, again, trashing the American soldier. Cut 13, go.
You would most certainly believe this must have happened by Nazis, Soviets in their gulags, or some mad regime, Pol Pot or others, that had no concern for human beings. Sadly, that's not the case. This was the action of Americans in treatment of their own prisoners.
Oh, he was upset how the Islamo-Nazis, you see, at Gitmo were being treated. 3 square meals a day, following their dietary practices, making sure they had their rugs so they could turn toward Medina, or is it Mecca, and pray 5 times a day. Oh, yes. Could play volleyball, badminton, you know, not be decapitated. Nobody captured their wives or their little girls and were selling them into slavery and raping them. None of that stuff. And this piece of crap attacks our soldiers. That didn't offend all the libs in the media, though. No. This guy doesn't love America either. He's a putz. Because you wouldn't say that about the American soldier. if you loved your country. So it's perfectly legitimate to point out what so many of us are thinking. It's perfectly legitimate for me to say, as I have said for years, that if you want to fundamentally transform America, then you obviously don't love America. And Obama has demonstrated every minute he's been in the Oval Office or on the golf course. And as I've pointed out 1,000 times before, if you love your wife or you love your girlfriend or your significant other, then you wouldn't want to fundamentally transform them either, would you? Oh, that rule, you can't say stuff. Oh, no. Oh, yes. We don't have to surrender our reasoning capabilities, ladies and gentlemen, to draw obvious conclusions. Obvious conclusions. And so we won't. But there's this little creep, this Josh Not Earnest, the White House press briefing today. He's asked by Ed Henry. This guy's a good reporter, Ed Henry. I'm very impressed with him. What about when Obama said that Bush was unpatriotic? Cut 14, go.
Does the president have any regrets, regardless of what Giuliani said? As a candidate, Senator Obama said that President Bush was unpatriotic.
Yeah, I think that what the president was doing was he was questioning the specific wisdom of that decision and questioning whether or not that was in the best interest of the country.
That's unwise. He said that's unpatriotic.
Right. But again, he was talking about that. He was not talking about a person.
Oh, he was talking about what Bush did was unpatriotic, not that Bush was unpatriotic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how can that be? If it's unpatriotic to drive up the debt, then the person's unpatriotic. If it's unpatriotic to drive up the debt, then the person is unpatriotic. These aren't ephemeral things. These are real things. Oh, no. He was talking about what Bush did, not Bush. Oh, that clears it up, you schmuck. And then Josh Earnest is asked, what do you think about Rudy Giuliani? So they threw a grapefruit at the guy's head and he hit it out of the park. Kinda. Cut 15, go.
More generally, I can tell you that it's sad to see when somebody who's attained a certain level of public stature and even admiration tarnishes that legacy so thoroughly. And the truth is, I don't take any joy or vindication or satisfaction. I think really the only thing that I feel is...
shut up! I hate it when these guys rehearse this crap. Now look, you know you're going to get a question about Giuliani and his patriot comment about Obama. Here's what we're going to do. Pose. Give the look. You're saddened by what's going on. You know how to do it, Josh. You're good at this. You're a fraud and a phony. Just pretend, you feel very sorry about how Giuliani has destroyed himself. He's character assassinated himself. I feel sorry for Rudy Giuliani. This is the mayor on the worst day in modern American history. This was the mayor who showed leadership like no other mayor in modern American history. This was America's mayor. You're going to compare Rudy Giuliani to Barack Obama? What a pathetic joke. Obama has never stepped up. Like I said on Hannity last night on Fox, Obama's a patsy for the Islamo-Nazis. The way Chamberlain was a patsy for the Nazis. Excuse after excuse. Attacks his own country with bizarre speeches, rambling, stupid speeches. While little girls are being raped, while little girls are being tortured, while little girls are being sold into slavery by big, fat, hairy pieces of crap barbarians. It's happening in the Middle East. It's happening in Africa. And this guy plays golf. He's got his next vacation in mind, off to his fundraisers. Trashing Christians, crashing America. How dare this creep Josh Earnest compare Rudy Giuliani to Obama or anybody else? Because trust me, if Rudy Giuliani were president, there'd be a lot fewer Muslim girls being raped and brutalized and sold into slavery than there are today. And let me repeat what I've also said before. Mr. President, you have blood on your hands. You're soaking in the blood of these people. You cut and run. You and that jackass moronic vice of yours, Joe Biden, couldn't hang around long enough to reach an agreement with the Iraqi government on a status of forces agreement. And you left because you wanted to leave. And you created this big vacuum for the enemy. And now we have two caliphates. And we have World War III. And somebody else's grandchildren and children are paying the price for this. Somebody else's family's paying the price for this. The horror, the screams, the begging of little girls. This isn't just a war on civilization, ladies and gentlemen. It's a war on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old little girls. And it hasn't moved this president to take effective, definitive military action to put them out of their misery by putting the perpetrators down and out. No, Obama does not love America. What he's done and what he says indicates that. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that. You don't have to be a journalist to know that. Just somebody who knows how to think and has an IQ over 14. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
There's more America haters out there, too. We call many of them college professors and college administrators. Oh, yes. Phony civil rights leaders like Al Not-So-Sharpton. Oh, there's a lot of people who don't love America, who despise America. You know, like the leftists out there, constantly agitating to destroy one institution after another, one tradition after another, one custom after another. Oh, and they point to slavery like they had something to do with it to eliminate it. They had nothing to do to eliminate slavery or segregation, did they? What they're attacking now is liberty, free market capitalism, private property rights. They're the tyrants. They're the totalitarians. And yes, they must not love America. Read their signs. Listen to their hate speech. It's like Barack Obama. Central to our system of government, and I believe he's the president, is separation of powers. He attacks separation of powers. Oh, he must not love separation of powers. He attacks the appointment clause in the Constitution. Oh, he must not love the Constitution. He writes his own laws. Well, only Congress. Oh, he must not love Congress. Well, what does he love about our government? The government he runs. What does it that he loves about it? Well, he loves himself. I think that's quite obvious. These long, monotonous, self-serving, pathetic speeches with the I, and the me. So we know he loves himself. What else does he love? I don't know. So I would ask those who question those of us who are actually more thoughtful and more cerebral than they could ever be in analyzing what's going on in this country and analyzing Barack Obama Well then, tell us how he loves America. I don't see it. Oh, that doesn't mean he doesn't do some good things, like drone some of the enemy. I get that. But barely. Barely. I don't know. It used to be that when a president violated statutes, when a president usurped the Constitution and the authority of Congress and so forth, it used to be that was un-American. Apparently not anymore. My friends, over the last several years, you've heard me talk about what a great advocacy group AMAC is. But AMAC offers its members more than just advocacy. AMAC membership also gives you access to a comprehensive and growing list of exceptional benefits and discounts. Medicare products, auto insurance, roadside assistance plans, savings on hotels and car rentals, discount dental and vision plans, an AMAC credit card with a great rewards program, and much, much more. A $16 annual AMAC membership. That's it. And it can save you hundreds over the course of a year, and all this from an organization that works on behalf of its members, not against them. You know where AMAC stands? Stand with them. And if you're looking for exceptional money-saving benefits from an organization that stands up for conservative values, then the choice is clear. Join AMAC, like I have. Join AMAC today at www.amac.us. That's www.amac.us. Because AMAC is better for you, and better for America. And yes, we do love America. And we say it all the time, and we express it in 1,000 ways. Here on the Marc Levin Show. I shall return.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, my fellow Americans. Yes, we love America. And we're unequivocal about it. You don't have to love your government to love America. Quite the contrary. Quite the contrary. I've already impeached the president out of my life. He's not my president. Ooh. What did he say? I said what I said. I said what I said, and I meant it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 3 left-wing newspapers and the Wall Street Journal editorial board are urging the Republicans in the Senate to pass Obama's unconstitutional amnesty by funding it. The Wall Street Journal editorial board, you may think is conservative. It's not. It's full of crony capitalists. They're not conservative. They're not even libertarian. They're not pro-free market capitalism. They're hacks. And they're doing what their boss tells them to do. Rupert Murdoch is an open borders, pro-immigration, pro-amnesty, naturalized American citizen. Well, good for him. Washington Examiner. All 4 of the major national newspaper editorial boards, including the conservative editorial, they're not conservative. Wall Street Journal called on congressional Republicans to pass a bill that fully funds the Department of Homeland Security, including Obama's controversial immigration orders. So there you are. Very sterile. Just fund it, fund it, fund it. Screw the Constitution. It's a dead end here defending the Constitution and defending Article 1 and separation of powers that go to the heart of the matter. It's a new day now. Don't listen to the framers. I mean, after all, most of them were slave owners. Today, we're much smarter. We're much better. Whatever you do, don't shut down any aspect of the federal government because every aspect of it is essential. It's so crucial. Now, screw the private sector. You can shut down coal mines. You can shut down assembly lines. You can shut down truckers. You can shut down whatever you want to shut down in the private sector. You can unleash the government, the EPA in particular, shut down the gun industry, this industry, that industry. That's okay. But whatever you do, don't shut down any part of the federal government. You might get blamed for it. In this case, you'd get credit for it. But no, can't do that. Everything in the federal government's essential. Nothing in the private sector is essential. Got it? They go on at the Washington Examiner. The left-leaning editorial boards of the New York Slimes, the Washington Compost, my words, of course, and USA Yesterday voiced similar opinions on the current showdown between the GOP and the president. After a federal judge earlier this week issued a temporary injunction against implementing Obama's immigration order, pending resolution of a suit brought by 26 states, the conservative, it's not conservative, it's crony capitalist Wall Street Journal editorial board said the GOP should see the decision as an out. Well, what did the geniuses under Paul Gigott and the others write? Scribbling there at their desks. Oh. Judge Andrew Hannon's decision, they wrote, is an airlift for Republicans in Congress if they have the wit to accept the relief. Oh, they write with such genius over there. Immigration hardliners. Oh, that would be you and me. We're hardliners. You see, they speak like the left over there on the editorial board. We support enforcing the law, so we're hardliners. What a bunch of schmucks. Immigration hardliners are attempting to defund Obama's order, but lack a legislative strategy whose endgame isn't shutting down all of the Homeland Security Department. Just to show you how stupid these editorial writers are at the Wall Street Journal. We've talked about it repeatedly. You don't shut down the Homeland Security Department, Mr. Gigot, and the little Gigettes. 200,000 out of the 231,000 employees there are considered essential. They don't go home. You got that? Put that in your next editorial. If you have an ounce of truth left in you, these are fanatics for amnesty. They've been fanatics for amnesty since before Paul Gigott. They recommended amending the Constitution to support amnesty. These guys are the handmaidens to the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism. That's it. They're not capitalists. They're not free market capitalists. Let's continue with the genius that is the Wall Street Journal editorial page, shall we? If the court's injunction is sustained on appeal, the president's unilateralism will be a dead letter until the case is resolved, which should persuade the GOP's deportation caucus to stand down before another self-defeating flame. You know what? I'm going to do something I wasn't going to do. Just to show you what mental midgets these fools are on the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. How pathetic these people are. Dishonest they are. We're going to learn a little bit about the immigration laws right now. I was going to do this next week. I'm going to do it now. There's essentially two different types of visas to enter the United States lawfully. And by the way, those who are violating their visas account for about 35 to 40% of the illegal aliens in this country. Did you know that? There are immigration visas. They're permanent. They can be for employment or non-employment. And non-immigrant visas. They're temporary, can be for employment or non-employment too. Now, the immigrant, this is generally known as green cards. One can get one based on family, married American, a dependent of a green card holder, etc., or employment-based. An employer can sponsor an employee, or if an individual possesses such extraordinary talent in his or her field, he or she can self-sponsor. All of this carries legal and regulatory requirements that are stringent and onerous, and yet fair. That's for the would-be immigrant. Now, the non-immigrant. These are essentially identified by letters of the alphabet. One can get a non-immigrant visa to enter and be in the U.S. lawfully on a temporary basis. Terms of the visa dictate parameters of the stay. Process for obtaining a visa generally involves two federal departments, Department of Homeland Security and the State Department, with the exception of so-called B1 and B2 visas and business tourist visas from waiver countries. So you file a visa petition with the Department of Homeland Security and a department within the Department of State, And this petition seeks a lot of information and gets filed in a USA regional office. If approved, the petition goes to the petitioner, to the State Department, to the U.S. Embassy consulate, where the beneficiary will be going to obtain the visa. Now, once the petition is approved, the individual secures an appointment at an embassy or consulate and undergoes an interview. And post 9/11, all have to be in person. So unlike other laws, immigration law presumes unlawful behavior. That's why you get the interview. That is, that the beneficiary is going to overstay, so he or she carries the burden of overcoming immigrant intent. You have to show immigrant intent, and that immigrant intent must be a temporary visa. You're intending to stay here temporarily. So when being interviewed, that's, among other things, what the interviewer is trying to determine. It illustrates how solid and well thought out these laws actually are. And the beneficiary does this by proving ties to his home country. That he's not seeking a temporary visa to leave his country and stay in our country. Now, if one of these visas is given, it is placed in the passport, and this visa only permits the person to travel to the U.S. through an authorized point of entry only. Like, get on a plane, fly to the U.S., go through immigration, not leave the airport until you've gone through that process. And the Department of Homeland Security then comes back into the picture, interviews the beneficiary one more time at the port of entry, at the place of entry, and at that time the person is awarded, if they are, a validity of stay, it's called, a validity of stay period. And they're allowed to leave the port of entry. It is that duration that determines how long a person can stay lawfully in the United States. And you can seek to get it extended. Now here's examples of visas. A. These are the letters that are used. An A visa. Career diplomats. A B1 visa. Business. A B2. A tourist visa. A C. A transit visa. D. Crew members. E. Treaty traders and investors. F. Students. Now, a student can stay and engage in optional practice training for a particular period in the field. I'm not going to get into the weeds. I'm just saying you can get a student visa. G. International organization representatives. H-1 visas. You've heard them talk about this on Capitol Hill. Specialty occupation. Like these IT experts. H-2 visas. You've heard about this. Seasonal. Originally intended for those who pick crops and other seasonal work. The I visa. Foreign media representatives. The J visa. Training. Now, the purpose here is to learn a trade here and take it back to your home country and help your home country. M visas. Students in non-academic institutions. An N visa. Parents and children of special immigrants. An O visa. Aliens of extraordinary abilities. Nobel Prize winners, individual entertainers, extraordinary talent. A P visa. Entertainers in a group, like circus performers. Q, cultural exchange program participants. R, religious workers. A TN visa, individuals whose occupations are listed under NAFTA to facilitate travel among the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. This is a very well thought out system that virtually no member of Congress has bothered to learn. While they go on and on. Oh, we need comprehensive immigration reform. That has nothing to do with it. Here's some other terms you need to know. TPS. Temporary protected status. Granting the same to individuals whose home country's conditions are such that temporarily prevent those individuals from returning home safely. In other words, in many cases, escaping political repression. Now, regarding the B1 and B2 visas, business and tourist visas, respectively, it doesn't require a petition to the Department of Homeland Security. It requires an interview at an embassy or consulate. So they're pretty easy to get, quite frankly. Visa waiver countries. There's a total of 38 in number. Note that Israel is not a visa waiver country. Why? I don't know. Now, citizens from these countries may travel to the U.S. and stay for a period of no more than 90 days in the U.S. They cannot extend the stay while here, and individuals cannot work. So there's this system, different levels, different layers, for immigrant, non-immigrant, different visas, green cards, temporary visas, extended visas. Obama destroyed the whole thing. Obama destroyed the whole thing without any statutory basis. None whatsoever. In fact, as the judge said, he didn't rewrite the law, he wrote his own law. And he supplanted existing law with his own law. So let me circle back. So we have the Wall Street Journal editorial page saying, go ahead and fund it, Congress. Go ahead and fund it, Republicans in the Senate. Hopefully the courts will work this stuff out. But as you and I know, by the time the courts work it out, Obama will have already implemented all of this, and one of the concerns any court will have is how do you unravel all of this? And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board know exactly the same thing. And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board also know the entire Homeland Security Department will not be shut. In fact, over 3/4 of it will remain open. And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board know that the Border Patrol, ICE, the Secret Service, and so forth, they're all essential employees, and they will all remain. They know this. The idiots at the editorial page at the Wall Street Journal also know that the only way to abolish the Department of Homeland Security is not through this mechanism, even if Republicans wanted to do it, which they don't. It would be to deauthorize the department, to eliminate it, and nobody's proposing that. And so the idiots of the Wall Street Journal are involved in propaganda, dissembling, deceit, in order to advance their fanatical position on amnesty. That's correct. And those who oppose them are not those who support law and order, are not those who support a managed system of immigration. No, we're hardliners. We're xenophobes, you see. That's how sick the Wall Street Journal editorial page has become with their ideological fanaticism and zealotry. But then again, they represent the Jeb Bush wing of the Republican Party, don't they? I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
So here is my question for the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial page, for McCain and Lindsey Graham, Jeff Flake, for all the other Republicans who endorse blanket amnesty of any kind. Why should we not deport individuals who have violated their visa status after swearing that their reasons for coming to this country were of a particular nature and agreeing to leave when they were over? In not one interview, but 2 interviews. Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their B1 business visa? Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their B2 tourist visa? Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their C visa, transit visa? Why should we not deport crew members who overstay their D visa? Why should we not deport individuals who come here under false pretenses, involved in traders, investors under the E visa, or students who violate their status under the F visa, or international organization representatives who violate their visa status under the G visa, or the H1, H2 visas, specialty occupation or seasonal occupation? Why should we not deport these people? They lied in 2 interviews. They signed papers. They're not crawling across the border. They came through the front door, lied repeatedly. What is the point of having a process at all? if you just brush this all aside and say everybody comes here for love. I'll be right back.
This is Liberty's 911 hotline. The Marc Levin Show. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Isn't that Vanilla Ice? Wasn't he just arrested on some bogus burglary charge? You read about that? Damn place is empty, so they go in there. They're doing a reality TV show, which I happen to like. I like his show. And they're pulling stuff out of there, and apparently they thought it was abandoned. It turns out it wasn't abandoned. And so he's arrested for burglary. It's so preposterous. Hang in there, brother. I don't know him, but he seems like a perfectly nice guy. Back to the Wall Street Journal fanatics, who apparently are ignorant about what they're writing about. You would think that they'd want to inform conservatives that the Department of Homeland Security won't be shut down. The vast majority of it will continue on. The essential parts, self-identified, will continue on. That it's important for the Republicans, now that they're the majority, to show that they will support the Constitution, that they will not bow down to an imperial president. But that's not the position of the Wall Street Journal. They're just another phony front group for amnesty. Just another special interest group. So they put out propaganda. And as I've mentioned before, just remember, they wrote an editorial July 3, 1984, which they have never renounced. They have not renounced, despite 9/11 and everything in between. An editorial, July 3, 1984, purposely timed for the day before Independence Day. And in that editorial, they wrote in part, if Washington still wants to do something, quote-unquote, snarky, about immigration, we propose a 5-word constitutional amendment. There shall be open borders. How about that? And now they're trying to tell the Republicans in the Senate what to do. But they don't support amnesty, mind you. There shall be open borders. They're worse than supporting amnesty. They support nothing. That's the editorial page, the conservative editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. You won't hear that anywhere else. You want to know why? Because too many hosts are, what if they write something negative about me? Ooh, what if they don't like me? I don't care. I care to get you the information, and you can double-check and triple-check me. There's something else that can be done. I talked about it back in November 2013. I talked about it on Monday at great length. That the Senate Republicans, in order to defend the Constitution, should abandon the filibuster rule until Obama leaves office. And they should abandon it so they can challenge him. Get bills to his desk. Force his hand to the extent they can. One more time I'm going to play it because, ladies and gentlemen, apparently there are others listening when I play this stuff. And, in radio, people come and people go. Many of you may not have heard it. But they're listening to it attentively. Some of our friends at the Fox News Channel, which I'm going to demonstrate in a moment. So this is November 21, 2013. Cut 4, go. Let me help you out just a little bit. Here's what you should have said today. You go ahead and do this, Harry Reid and Schumer. You go ahead and do this, Dick Durbin and Harkin and all the rest of you miscreants and malcontents. You go ahead and do this. Let me tell you what we're going to do when we take back the Senate. If we take back the Senate. We're going to eliminate the filibuster rule altogether. And by a simple majority, we're going to repeal Obamacare. That's what we're going to do. There's no point in we, the Republican Party, there's no point in we, the Republicans in the Senate, following tradition, following Robert's Rules of Order. There's no point in us doing it when we're up against a force that doesn't abide by tradition, doesn't abide by rules, doesn't abide by the Constitution. Quite the contrary. Stop. But he loves the country. He loves America, Obama. He's fundamentally transforming it for our sake. He loves the country. Go ahead. In their pursuit of absolute power. So we just want to make it clear today. What we're going to do is lift the filibuster rule. And we're going to repeal Obamacare. And because there is no filibuster rule in the House, they will vote with us. And then it'll go to the president. And he will veto it. And then it will come back to Congress. And we will either muster the votes to override his veto or we won't. But after that point, we're going to target every single Democrat, and we're going to defeat as many as we can to get to our veto-proof Senate and House. And then this Monday out of the box, I reiterated this point as applies to immigration. Cut 5, go. Well, if they give up the filibuster temporarily for the last 2 years of Obama, it's not in the Constitution, the filibuster. It's Robert's Rules of Order. And they can say, as Harry Reid did a year and a half ago, well, guess what? If the President of the United States is going to violate the Constitution brazenly and openly when it comes to an issue that is Congress's power, not just the power of the purse when it comes to immigration, but the power of naturalization, then we are going to step up. We are going to abandon the filibuster rule for the remaining part of his presidency, and we are going to pass legislation whether Chuck Schumer likes it or not. Then, I'm live, as I'm doing my preparation studiously, go to a number of websites, as well as various books and so forth. Popping up on one of my favorite websites, Breitbart, I see the picture of Charles Krauthammer, our friend over at the Fox News channel. And Mr. Producer, he came up with a great idea. Cut 6, go.
I would advocate to the GOP the thing that they're looking at is a surrender on this. They're going to get the blame if Homeland Security is shut down, even though it'll largely operate nonetheless. So if you're going to get the blame, I think what they ought to do is abolish the filibuster and actually pass the budget for Homeland Security, which leaves out any of the funding in the Immigration Service for the unlawful, illegal executive amnesty of the president, and then send it on to the president.
All right. Well, this is brilliant. I'm glad I thought of it. The Levin plan. Isn't that what I called it, Mr. Producer? I'm glad I thought of it. But what Charles Krauthammer, very nice man, gets wrong is they're not going to shut down the Department of Homeland Security. Why do the Republicans say this and their surrogates say this? Because Krauthammer's a surrogate, effectively. Why does the Wall Street Journal not put out the truth so people aren't getting all worried and concerned? Why do they talk like Barack Obama that they're going to shut down the Department of Homeland Security when they can't shut down the Department of Homeland Security under their own statutes? They can't shut the damn thing down. Yellow. And they keep saying it. Could it be that they want to fund unconstitutional amnesty like the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial page? Ladies and gentlemen, we don't exist for Wall Street. I have nothing against Wall Street, bankers and investors and hedge funds. I'm all for it. But I'm tired of subsidizing them through bank bailouts, through TARP. I'm tired of them pouring millions and millions of dollars into campaigns to defeat real conservatives, real constitutionalists. I'm tired of us having our borders wide open to subsidize their friends. We don't exist for crony capitalists any more than we exist for crony big labor. We have abandoned free market capitalism. We have abandoned individual liberty. And I don't care if it's the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial page or the idiots at the Washington Compost editorial page or the idiots at the New York Slimes editorial page or any of the rest of them. This country is not their plaything. This is why newspapers are dying, because they're full of crap for the most part. Which is why birds like them so much. Crap. Well, I thought I'd point that out. And we are reassured, by the way, by Clint Bullock, a radical libertarian who co-wrote his book with Jeb Bush on immigration wars, I think they called it. And we are assured and reassured by Mr. Bullock. Don't worry. Jeb Bush really does support this stuff. And, of course, he's interviewed by Jose Diaz-Balart, famous family in South Florida, Cuban immigrants, that all will be well. Cut 7, go.
And how can he fit those 34 flavors he was talking about into the Republican field of candidates?
Well, he is either going to win or lose with a mandate on immigration. He believes in this with his absolute heart and soul. He also thinks that the current immigration system is an absolute disaster.
Stop. The current immigration system is not a disaster. The current people who run it are a disaster. I wonder if Mr. Bullock actually is familiar with the immigration laws. Now maybe he'll go back and bone up on them. He is a lawyer. I believe he's at Hoover, among other places these days. The Goldwater Institute. I mean, what does he really know about our immigration laws? There's nothing wrong with our immigration laws. There was nothing wrong with the law that was passed in 2006, 2007, to build physical barriers on the southern border. What's wrong? The politicians, the bureaucrats, the phony think tanks that really do support massive, widespread, ongoing waves of immigration and illegal immigration, which this country has never abided. Never abided. Period. And anybody who says otherwise has not studied the subject. They're just liars, flat-out liars. What's been going on since 1965, right up to today, half a century, prior to this time, has never gone on. There needs to be time for assimilation. And without assimilation, we are not one nation. And you can see it now. You can see it with the Luis Gutierrez's and the Jorge Ramos's threatening us. Threatening people. If we don't abide an unconstitutional act by a lawless president and subvert a federal judge, we're going to pay for it. Oh, at the ballot box, they're going to show us. These men don't talk like Americans. They don't talk like people who think about an American culture. Do they? They talk like racialists who are balkanizing this nation, because that's exactly who and what they are. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
If you're like many Americans, well, you know the Constitution's important, but it's important we actually understand it and digest it and how it affects our liberty every day. That document belongs to you. That document was written for you, not the politicians, not the bureaucrats, not the media, for you, the American citizen. And Hillsdale College has declared 2015 the year of the Constitution. And they teach the Constitution like nobody else. In fact, every student they have there, regardless of their major, is required to master a course on the Constitution. Now, this very course is available to you online for free. It's a public service by Hillsdale College. Every one of you would really enjoy this. And you owe it to yourselves and you owe it to your family members to understand the Constitution. After all, we can't have freedom without it. The course is Constitution 101, and it's provided free as part of Hillsdale College's basic mission to defend liberty. Isn't that great? You know, we have all these other colleges and universities that have as their basic mission to destroy our country because they don't love America. Hillsdale College, the faculty, the president there, my buddy Dr. Larry Arnn, they do love America. Register for free today. Once you start the course, you'll receive a new lecture every week that you can watch whenever you want along with readings, discussion boards, and more. This is the perfect time to do it, Friday. Make 2015 your year to learn the Constitution. Sign up for Constitution 101 for free. Where? LevinforHillsdale.com. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com. That's LevinforHillsdale.com. Check it out. Bob, Seagirt, New Jersey, the great WABC. Go.
Yes, well, thank you, Mark. What you were just outlining with all the different H-1B and everything, the Republican Party needs to have someone like Ted Cruz do what you just did. Most Americans don't know about this. I do this because I place people in IT positions. It's one of the things I do. And we have a system in place. It's just being ignored by the administration. The Republican Party has a problem with communication. If you call the RNC, no one ever answers the phone.
Bob, the Republican Party has a problem with principles.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And the point is, you know and I know, and I just did a short summary, not just a summary, but a short summary of some of the key elements of existing immigration law, the various visas and the green cards and so forth that determine why people are here, how long they can stay here, the interview process at the front end and at the tail end. It's an intricate process. And so when people violate that, they are knowingly violating it. They're staying here, and we treat them like they're victims. They're not victims. They're liars. That's how they violated their visas. And I want to know from Lindsey Graham, who's a coward who won't come on this program. He'll go everywhere else. He'll go on sonograms. He'll go on airport radar. Yes. He'll speak to himself in the mirror. But he won't come here because I know more about this law than he does. None of them will come here and discuss this. I want to know, once and for all these people violating all these visa requirements, temporary visas, temporary periods of time in this country, students, IT workers, seasonal workers, circus workers, business people. I want to know why we don't deport them when they violate their visas. What the hell is this? Some kind of a joke? Don't tell me the laws are broken or the system's broken, Clint Bullock. Don't tell me everybody comes here for love, Jeb Bush. And don't tell me you believe seriously in rational immigration policies, you frauds at the Wall Street Journal. This is an outrage. No country does this. Wave after wave after wave of lawbreakers. No assimilation. They don't even talk about assimilation. They don't even talk about an American culture. E pluribus unum. Not everybody for himself. This is another basic tenet, a basic principle of this country. Never before in American history have we had a half a century wave of people coming into this country on their own accord, time and again given amnesty, and it's even worse now. What's worse now is they are now beneficiaries of our welfare system. And this is all done through the back door. Obama did it. He lied about it. Social Security, earned income tax credit, Medicare, in-state tuition. He lied about it. And the Wall Street Journal says Republicans go along with it. Just go along with it. It'll help the economy. What a bunch of frauds. What a bunch of fakes. This is utterly irrational. No country should do this. Certainly not our country. No, we're not against immigration. No, we're not hardliners. We are rational American citizens. We want the laws to be followed. We didn't even pass the laws. Congress passed the laws. Presidents signed them. The bureaucracy issued their regulations. Now follow the damn laws and the regulations. They're perfectly fine. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Show, everybody. Marc Levin here. This is Hour 3, the final hour of the program, the final hour of the week. The number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, this government that takes over more and more and more screws up more and more, too. But don't worry, when it brings in these refugees from Syria, right in the heart of the Islamo-Nazi battle, everything's going to be vetted very, very well. Oh, yes, we know this. They've already told us. Don't worry, it's going to be handled very well. And, of course, I'm sure it will be. Because looky here. Fed sent incorrect tax information to 800,000 people on Obamacare. These clowns can't even run a website. But don't worry. We're going to know if people come into this country mean us harm. And don't worry, should Jeb Bush become president, we'll change the rules. Rather than assume that people coming here are going to violate our laws, which is the current assumption under the immigration laws, we'll assume that they're here to love us. Because after all, as he said, we're 34 flavors. Problem is, a couple of those flavors don't mean us well. No, I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the obvious. People come into this country, they're all not lovers. Some of them are real haters. And they're sent here by the enemy to do grievous damage to our country. I believe that's what happened on 9/11. How many more 9/11s do we need? Anyway, when they talk in our government, the president and the others, they talk like they actually have a handle on these things. They talk like they actually are competent. And they're not, and they never have been and never will be. They waste hundreds of billions of dollars every year. And nobody even blinks. From the Hill newspaper, Peter Sullivan and Sarah Ferris, the administration sent the wrong tax information to 800,000 people who have enrolled in Obamacare, officials announced Friday. But I'm here to catch it. I don't know why some host thinks Friday, let's lighten it up today. I think not. The information used to calculate subsidies was wrong on about 20% of the tax forms, an error that could delay tax refunds for thousands of people. Administration officials stress the vast majority of healthcare.gov customers received the correct forms. Now, don't worry, just 800,000. They're the only ones that we screwed up. 800,000 out of what, 10 million? That's pretty good for us. That's government. Even Barney's fed up with the whole damn thing. You hear him barking, Mr. Producer? Well, we have these deer in the backyard. They're liberals. Barney can't stand liberals. I don't know where he gets that from. Administration officials stress that the vast majority of healthcare.gov customers received the correct forms. White House propagandist Josh Not Ernest said the issue impacted a very small fraction of people. See, this is how they view human beings. What the hell? It's 800,000 people. 800,000 people. That's more than most cities in this country. 800,000 people? Well, what the hell? It's 800,000 people. What's the big deal? There aren't even 800,000 people who live in the District of Columbia. I think it's about 500,000, give or take. Well, whatever. And then look how the Hill writes it. But the tax glitch quickly provided new ammunition for Republicans who continue to argue that the health care law is fatally flawed. So you see, it's not a screw-up by Obama and the administration. It's not yet another demonstration that this crap cannot work. No. The Republicans have seized on it. Oh, my goodness. Marsha Blackburn. Surprise, surprise, she said. The Obama administration still does not have its act together. She said the problems offer more proof the IRS should be kept out of health care. Wow, what a radical. The IRS should be kept out of health care? But those IRS agents and bureaucrats, they know so much about health care. And, of course, the Tea Party. That's a whole other story. Andy Slavitt, acting administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Now, this is one of the frustrations I have. Nobody knows who the hell Andy Slavitt is. If I hadn't read his name, you never would have heard of it before. Andy Slavitt is an immensely powerful bureaucrat. He's the acting administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Who the hell is this guy? And yet look at the control he has over so many lives. He said he couldn't yet explain the error. This is what I mean. The same mentality when it comes to the border and refugees from Syria. Oh, we got the whole system set up. We're going to vet everybody. Everything works just perfectly. Then, kaboom. Now it's his fault. It's his fault. It's Bush's fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's Bush's fault. When asked Friday if the White House owed taxpayers an apology, Josh Earnest said the issues would be addressed promptly and people would be able to pay their taxes on time. No. No, we're not going to apologize. Obama loves America. Why would he apologize? He loves America, loves our health care, loves America. Obamacare officials have struggled with this year's... whatever. Bunch of boobs. They think they can run the world. Even before they're done with Obamacare, even before they're done with Dodd-Frank, even before they're done with the EPA swallowing up more and more of our industries and our farms and our ranches and our public utilities, it's more and more. We got to get more and more and more. And just to show you how utterly and completely irrational these people are, what complete ideologues they are, have you noticed how cold it is outside? 2/3 of the country. It is friggin' cold. And they're still pushing their global warming agenda. Just don't call it global warming. That'll fix the whole thing. Climate change. That covers every possibility. Because climate does change. We call it weather. So, that covers everything. So, keep regulating. Keep taxing. Keep mandating. Climate change. Sick, isn't it? But they're not done. They have control over your health care. And now they want control over your food. This from Bloomberg. Not the idiot mayor. The idiot mayor's news service. Americans should pay taxes on sugary sodas and snacks as a way to cut down on sweets, though they no longer need to worry about cholesterol, according to scientists helping to revamp dietary guidelines as U.S. obesity levels surge. Wait a minute. That's a mouthful. That run-on sentence, that's a mouthful. Americans should pay taxes on sugary sodas and snacks as a way to cut down on sweets, though we no longer have to worry about cholesterol. What happened? I mean, it's like global warming. I don't know. Call it climate change. I guess we should change the word cholesterol, too. Well, we were wrong for 4 billion years. No. Cholesterol's fine. Go ahead. Eat whatever crap you want. We're going to tax it. So now you don't have to worry about cholesterol. They haven't made up their minds on chocolate. Yes, good. That dark chocolate, good. The light nuts. Oh, no, you can eat that. Don't eat that one. The recommendations Thursday from the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Did you know there was a Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee? Who are the morons who sit on this committee? I don't know, but I'm sure they are morons. Also call for Americans to reduce meat consumption and take substantial sustainability into account when dining. Is this what you do, folks? You sit down for dinner and you're talking to your significant other and you're saying, among other things, hey, have you ever considered a genitalia change? But anyway, no. I mean, you're sitting there, you're having dinner, and you say to them, let's talk about sustainability when we're consuming our food, shall we? Does anybody think like this other than the morons who are putting out this crap? Why is the government... I mean, look, what is happening to this country where we have a Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee? They've gotten cholesterol wrong for apparently decades. They want to tax sugary sodas and snacks. Why? Because they can. A Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee... Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Particularly those of you who are 18 and older. Do you feel like you're an adult? Do you feel like you can make your own decisions about what you're going to eat or not eat? I mean, if you don't, why should you have the vote? It seems to me if you don't get to make your own decisions about dietary laws or you're incapable of it, not that you won't do what you're being told to do, watch that methane. But my question is this. Why should somebody have the right to vote if they don't know what they want to eat? If they need the government to tell them to eat? It's sort of like, you get on the airplane and they go through the rigmarole about how to use a seatbelt, Mr. Producer. My attitude is if you don't know how to put on a seatbelt, then get the hell off the plane. What are you doing on the plane? Well, you do the buckle like this, and you put the buckle. I'm looking around saying, I don't want to sit next to the guy who doesn't know how to use the seatbelt because something's wrong there. Anyway, why should you be able to vote for our quote-unquote leaders if you need a dietary guidelines advisory committee to tell you what to eat? And reduce red meat. I like red meat, and I'm not reducing red meat. What do you think of that? What we're calling for, now the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are involved, having licked all the new diseases that have been imported into our countries. It's moved into food. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Does it say Center for Disease Control, Prevention, and Food? I thought that was the Food and Drug Administration. Oh, so many. What we're calling for in the report in terms of innovation, okay, this means Obama's Marxists are at play, and bold new action in healthcare, in public health, at the community level. Don't they all talk like radicals, street radicals? Is what it's going to take to try and make a dent on the epidemic of obesity. Committee Chairwoman Barbara Millen of the Millennium Prevention in Westwood, Massachusetts, said in a telephone interview. Suggestions by the nonpartisan panel of academics and scientists have helped shape the school lunch menus. Oh, that's a big success. Yes, I understand the main entree in the school lunch program is cardboard. And kids aren't eating it. Help shape school lunch menus and the $6 billion a year Women, Infants, and Children program, which serves more than 8 million Americans buying groceries from retailers, including Kmart stores and Kroger. The recommendations went to the Departments of Agriculture and Health and Human Services that later this year will issue guidelines used to create the government's icon for healthy diets. Currently a dinner plate that replaced the... What is going on here? What if I want to be heavy? I exercise three times a week now. I actually have a professional trainer. He's a great guy, my buddy Justin, because without him I wouldn't do any of this. Because I don't want to exercise. What do you think of that? Now. But I have heart issues, and I do what I need to do. But I like to eat certain foods that I'm sure won't be on the list. What are you going to do? Drag me to the gulag? What are you going to do? Tax me out of existence? Oh, you think this is a joke? Look at the healthcare stuff. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack, another puke, said the two agencies will focus on diet and nutrition recommendations, and he declined to comment on any policy initiatives such as a tax. Yeah, it's like our Federal Communications Commission. They are about to regulate, with an iron fist of government, the Internet, and they won't give us the 331 pages to look at. They now want to regulate food, which means they're going to bash food producers, food servers, food preparers, bash them into submission so your choices are limited, your quantities are smaller, and your prices are higher. That's what government does. Oh, but we believe in government privacy. No, we don't. They're handing out condoms. They're telling us what to eat. They're telling us whose genitals to pay for when they want to change their genitals. Government's everywhere. And it's no joke.
Marc Levin.
York, the great WABC. Go.
Hi, how you doing, Mark?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, I have an idea how your listeners can be educated in how we could educate the general public.
Uh-huh.
And I think of our cars as mobile signs.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to tell you that I think that we could all...
Wait a minute. Did you invent bumper stickers?
No, but on the back of our windshield...
Are you sure?
With a white marker. No, not a bumper, bigger than a bumper sticker.
I see. What should we do?
Just get we all have the First Amendment. We have our cars, the back...
What should we do with our cars? What do you want us to do?
To get a white window marker and write one sentence educating the public of what's going on, and we could also write something in there that we encourage
on the back window?
On the back window of our cars, we could encourage them to listen to conservative radio as well, and it could just be one sentence, and that's all we need to do is just everybody just do that, and I would be the first to do it I would send you a picture of it as well.
You better check your local ordinances. You know, sometimes you do stuff like that and you're violating the traffic requirements.
Okay. Well, you could get a thin strip on top. It doesn't have to take up your whole window.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
well, that's a fascinating idea. Thank you. Let us go to Tony, Brooklyn, New York, the great WABC. Go.
Hey, Mark. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Something was on the news this week that concerns me a great deal, and that's the release of military planning to our enemies, exposing our troops not only to booby traps, but to complete and utter ambush when they return to Mosul. I have a nephew who's a lieutenant colonel in the United States Marines, 5 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and this concerns me greatly.
Hold on, let's tell everybody what concerns you, that they're laying out how we're building up potentially 20,000 troops to move into Mosul, and they're even giving the time frame they're talking about.
Exactly. Like I said, booby traps can be laid, and utter ambush can be waiting for these guys as they enter Mosul, and it's a disgrace. I can't see how anyone who released that information...
Who the hell do you think leaked that? Exactly. What the hell? It's got to be somebody in the administration trying to show that they're really tough.
Thank you for taking the call.
All right, and you raise a very important point, sir. You really do. So they're leaking out particulars about an operation, and I won't get into it. That would involve Iraqi soldiers trying to take Mosul back. And obviously it was a leak from the administration trying to show everybody just how tough they are. I think the way this administration treats our military is so sickening. But it's the way Obama treats almost everybody in this country who's not on the dole, not on the take, or who's here legally. I'll be right back.
If you turn off your radio and open the window, you can probably hear him straight from the studio. Call Marc Levin at 877-381-3811.
Now, sure, online marketing is critical to growing your business, but where do you start? Getting found online is complex, challenging, always changing. But you need to be super visible online because that's where your customers are. You need YP. YP started as the Yellow Pages over 100 years ago. And today they're the largest marketing agency for local businesses in the United States, with over 80 million potential customers searching YP.com and the YP app every month. YP provides marketing services from web design to search engine marketing. And they're giving you a free business scan, the essential first step to being found online. YP will measure your company's online health from the accuracy of your information to how hard it is for customers to find you across online directories and search sites like Google, YP, Yahoo, and dozens more. Potential customers are searching for you daily, but can they find you? YP can help you. Start your free business scan at myfreeyp.com, myfreeyp.com. That's myfreeyp.com. Oh, there's so much more to get to, but you know what? Let me hear what the folks have to say. Donna, Frederick, Maryland, the great WMAL. Go!
Hi, Mark. So good to talk with you here. I just wanted to mention this bit about the health care. It's no surprise to me at all. The real epidemic we have in this country is a runaway government, and they need to get out of our lives and mind their own business, and I'm sick of it. They've already hit my family very hard financially, and unfortunately, I see more of it coming down the pike.
Let me ask you something. I think almost everybody is now being affected by by this health care law, and many more will be soon. But it is so atrocious, the costs, the instability, the unpredictability. And what are the Republicans even doing about it? They're not even talking about it.
That's what's so deplorable. I have a sister with a terminal illness, and she she got kicked off her insurance plan. She was told that, there's no pre-existing condition, so she got on her state website, and they said, sorry, they expected some huge demand, something like $6,000 a month from her. And she was like, there's nothing I can do. And this is somebody who's been living...
No, they want her to go on Medicaid.
Yeah, exactly. And she said, this is unreal. And by the way, Mark, this is a person that's extraordinary. She's one of the first Tea Party people out there. Right after 9/11, the following day, she was one of the first people. And it's such an outrage to me that someone who's such a wonderful human being and such a good patriot to be treated in such a way. We don't need government for anything, really. The military's about it.
Well, we need government for what the Constitution says, and we're in different levels of government, state and local government, but more and more it is supplanting what we as individuals are supposed to do for ourselves. And I am tired of destroying this society for the losers and the takers, and I'm not just talking about American citizens, but people flooding into this country. It's enough already. Thank you for your call. All right, let's go here. Let us go to Tyler, Merritt Island, Florida, the great WMMB. Go.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. It's a pleasure to talk to you again.
Thank you.
First off, I just want to mention something.
And I can't argue with that. I'm sure it is, by the way.
Yeah. First off, I want to mention something that I heard on the Rush Limbaugh show earlier today. That being the fact that 2 Iranian students are currently attending the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Those students applied for entry into their nuclear engineering program. Gee, I wonder why they'd want to do that.
Well, how do you know they don't love our country?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea, but...
Are you profiling, sir? Are you a hardliner, a xenophobe?
I'm just an American patriot, so...
Yeah, you're just using common sense.
Yeah, but anyways, the college initially denied them entrance into their nuclear program until 2 days ago when the socialist Obama State Department gave the college a call to consult with them. Well, needless to say, after that consultation, the college decided to grant those Iranian students entrance into that program.
Isn't that incredible? Yep.
Yeah. Now our incumbent president is not only negotiating with the largest supporter of radical Islam on the planet and allowing them to have nuclear weapons, but is also convincing our colleges to instruct them on how to do it.
How about the tens of thousands, conservativereview.com broke yesterday, how about the tens of thousands of Saudi students who've come into this country?
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. And they're just letting it happen. Like,
hey, what are you trying to say there? What are you trying to say? What do you mean, what are we trying to say? It should be logical to everybody.
No, yeah, exactly. It is logical.
All right, my friend, I appreciate it. Well, if Jeb Bush is the nominee, none of that's going to change. It's going to get worse. I'm just telling you the truth. And the Wall Street Journal editorial page, the idiots there, what a disgrace. Alex, Bryant, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with Obama going around saying how many people have signed up for Obamacare, they advertise it like we love Obamacare, but it's not that. It's that we don't want to get fined for it.
They're exactly right, and he's including in those numbers Medicaid. So the whole thing is a fraud. This president's a fraud, liberalism's a fraud, centralized government's a fraud, and we live this myth. It's like global warming. Oh, let's change the name of it so they don't, it's cold. And we're required to bow down to these arguments, these policies. We're required to fund them. It's just outrageous. Thank you for your call. Let's see. How about Bill in Jacksonville, Florida, the great WBOB? W-Bob, go.
Hey, thank you, Mark. Listen, I wanted to draw a comparison between the Careys of this world and the Greatest Generation from World War II, your grandfather's generation.
Right.
I have a couple of guys. One guy's a private. Wilson D. Watson won the Medal of Honor on Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Twice assaulting enemy pillboxes, which were holding up the advance of his company, and for killing 60 of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I have here a Captain Joseph J. McCarthy for gallantry at Iwo Jima and leading an assault team across exposed ground to wipe out a position, holding up the advance of his company, and personally killing 75 of the enemy. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we have to listen to Kerry before the Senate talk about our soldiers. Yep. I mean, it just outrages me. It really does.
All right, my friend, I appreciate it. I know it's extremely frustrating. Let us continue here. Debbie, Vineland, New Jersey, the great WABC. I know where Vineland, New Jersey is. Many times in my youth, my family and I were there. As a matter of fact, Route 40, when you go over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, you take Route 40 into Atlantic City. Not into it exactly, but close enough. They have wonderful diners there. I'll tell you what I miss while I'm getting ready to talk to Debbie. I miss these fruit stands that we used to go to. The Jersey tomatoes and peaches. I'm hungry again. Debbie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well.
Good. I've been wanting to call for a while, but Obama
Can you lower your radio? Thank you.
All right, hold on.
I love listening to myself twice. Yellow.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, yes.
President Obama said he wanted to do nation building here at home, but he's trying to do nation building in Israel by rigging the election against Netanyahu.
Well, you're right. Actually, Obama doesn't build a damn thing. He's a destroyer. He's a one-man wrecking ball, as I've said many times. He will leave this country destitute. He will leave this country without a secure border. He will leave this country with a hollowed-out military. And he will leave this country with a massive debt. And that's his legacy. I don't care what else anybody says. But don't worry, he loves America. Oh, he loves America every day. You know what he loves? He loves America's golf courses. That's about it. Thank you for your call. I'm right, aren't I? I'll tell you about Conservative Review, this great website. February 27th. Keep that date in mind. That is a big date for conservatives, February 27th. As you may have heard, it's the date that funding expires for the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? Nothing. Nothing. Relax. They try and shepherd us into these mindless positions. 83% of the personnel there, I keep saying it so you'll spread the word, are essential. Now, February 27th. That's the date we're going to look at. Funding expires for the Department of Homeland Security. It's also how Republican leadership has claimed they'll fight to stop Obama's executive amnesty. See, Conservative Review is waiting to make sure that they do that. Unlike the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which is urging them to violate the Constitution. Almost all Republicans claim to be against executive amnesty, but now is the time where politicians will try to bait and switch the public to avoid showing what they truly believe. They'll take votes that will have no impact on the eventual outcome, and when push comes to shove, they won't stand up for the crucial vote that truly matters. Then they'll claim that they did the best they could. You know, we don't have the presidency. We only control Congress. It used to be, well, we only have 1/3 or 1/2 or 1/5 and 1/8. Now it's, Wait a minute. We got to have the presidency, 67 Republicans in the Senate, 312 House members. Then we'll do what you want. And then they won't do what we want. Because I remember when they had the Republican House, the Republican Senate, and the Republican president. And then they'll claim they did the best they could. Now that's why conservativereview.com is so important. They'll tell you what your member of Congress voted for in plain English and tell you how the vote will affect you. As a matter of fact, they'll tell you that about every single member of Congress, the House and the Senate. conservativereview.com is the place to go for the most up-to-date information on this immigration fight exactly when you want it. Take 2 minutes. It's absolutely free. Here it is. The government shut down. It's Friday evening. Sign up at conservativereview.com right now. That's conservativereview.com.
Marc Levin.
Cut the cake. Now I'm hungry again. Let's listen a second. Go ahead. All right, that's enough. Got the part I wanted. Get the cake. Democrats are bracing for another Obamacare backlash. Up to 6 million Americans are expected to pay a penalty for not having coverage in 2014. According to recent Obama administration projections, the 2014 penalty for the tax season is $95 or 1% of family income. It's not going to be $95. People are going to get slammed. But don't worry, Obama will fix it. He's so focused on it. Now, the man's actually completely out of touch. He doesn't give a damn. I want you to remember something as you go through this, as we all go through this horror together. Obama, his family, Biden, his family, every senator, every member of Congress, and their families are not covered by Obamacare. They exempted themselves, including the Republicans working behind the scenes with Obama, including that John Boehner working behind the scenes with Obama. They're exempt from Social Security. They're exempt from Medicare. They're exempt from Obamacare. They have their own system set up just for them. Their own pensions, their own health care. They better hope that this country doesn't unravel. They really better hope. Because they have abused us long enough. Lecturing us. We, who pay their salaries, who subsidize their health care, who subsidize their pensions. We, who pay for the whole damn thing. Being told we don't have enough skin in the game. Our taxes aren't high enough. Just let more illegals in the country. Just accept more money printing. Just accept bigger debt. We are the ones being abused. This is not a constitutional republic. What the hell is it? And yet we have people desperately trying to argue, even so-called conservatives, desperately trying to argue that we are. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of you, America by Ray Charles. Well, the week is officially over. The weekend begins right now. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel. Good night, Spritey. Good night, Griffey. Good night, Pepsi. And to my brother's dog, good night, Hunter. And good night, America. Kill ISIS. Kill Al-Qaeda. Kill the terrorists. Griffey, good night, Pepsi. And to my brother's dog, good night, Hunter. And good night, America. Kill ISIS. Kill Al-Qaeda. Kill the terrorists.